to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical. It's a program where you have your say on the burning issues of the week. Our digital audience is here. As always, great to have them on the program. They are source-based on their interactions with us during the week. It is value-added indeed. And just a reminder, digital audience, if you have any points to make, any questions, please raise your virtual hand, and I'll do my very best to bring you into the conversation. Whoever comes with fire will be met with fire. Words attributed to the National Police Commissioner in a statement put out a little while ago. Why? Well, the police say that they are deploying specialized units in the West Rand to flush out illegal minors. You've seen the headlines. A gang of men raped 8 women. What followed? Well, many arrests during police raids in Krugersdorp, mainly for contravening the immigration and mining legislation. We are still waiting to hear whether those who are arrested are linked to the gang rape of the 8 women. But as a nation, my brothers and sisters, are we becoming numb to these deeply disturbing stories? We know that news is only useful in the context of humanity. That is why we are highlighting these issues, and we're trying to give you the story behind the headline so that we can, as a nation, get to a better place and get strategies in place to get to that better place, which leads us to the question of the week. And we're asking you, in the wake of the Krugersdorp gang rape, what more can be done to protect communities living nearby disused mines in South Africa? The issue of zamazamas, or illegal miners, is it a direct byproduct of the unanswered socioeconomic inequalities? Walk with me while we get ready for the roundup. Let me give you some context as well. Also, please interact with us. That's the whole aim of the show. We need your voice. 011-714-5958 is the numbers. All our socials as well. We want to get to the nub of the story. We need to dig deeper, mind the pun, in order to get answers. Now, time for your roundup. Look, it was one of the biggest stories of the week. Tembisa in Gauteng. 4 people died during the protests there. Some municipal buildings and vehicles were torched. The residents have been protesting over rates and taxes, which they say are exorbitant. The Ekurhuleni Mayor, Tanya Campbell, said some of the demands are outside the municipality's jurisdiction, but promises residents that the Metro will attend to their grievances. This is what she had to say.
We are engaging with province and the National Treasury. We will ask for more from National Treasury and from National. To further help residents of Tembisa, we will be bringing this matter of the Indigent Policy Review as an urgent item to Council for approval.
Operations ongoing since last week Thursday, following that horrific rape of the 8 women in an abandoned mine dump while they were shooting that music video. Community members have indicated that they were going to move to certain houses where they believed that zamazamas had been renting. This is one of those shacks. Hasina, we'll come to you very shortly. Just give us a second, excuse me. This is one of the areas where they're saying that people should be coming out from. Some of the community members are also going inside, and they're trying to get them to come out of this particular hole.
Yeah, intrepid reporters, the SABC's very own Griselda Lewis and Hasina Gori, who brought you that coverage from the West Rand over the past few days. And that's our main topic tonight, the unrest in Krugersdorp. And you know by now, this program gives you a voice as we reflect on the big stories of the week. So tonight's word on the street comes from that area in Mogale City. Let's take a listen to what you had to say.
What are you feeling regarding what happened? What has been happening here in Krugersdorp? And the problem is Mazama are breaking.
Our sisters and brothers are being killed by this whole Zamazama thing. When you go to the taverns, you go everywhere, you are no longer free.
Ba emisa mapodisa ba feta ga ba bue next. Gona no mapodisa gona nong a khona go patrola batho ba tlhagang lata mu ka divene ba ba setse morago. Mara mosebetsi wa bone ga ba o tsebe.
Asafuni imingcwabo especially abantwana abancane. Sirejilwe sayenza izinto ezibhlungu ngathi ngakhala.
Seyisinqabile kubhlungu. Kunabantwana abancane badlengula abantwana abancane. It's wrong lento leyo. It's wrong is touching ibhlungu.
Bapadisa ba re support-a mara go na le fo ba pallwang teng.
Re phela bokete mo country ya rona re kopa gore this country emele ka maoto mo government ya rona Ramaphosa emele ka maoto ba golo.
I'm the one of the victims waba zamazama. This hand is not working because of them. Maponisa a rona batho ba re believe gore ba tamaile ba re protect. Ke bone batho ba re shootang. Re sa itse gore ntwe re etsa ene le wrong because this thing e buile gore today re tlo strike and no movement.
Ba re kanela go dintlo re robetse. Ga re tsa re ka di grocery ba re batla re ba patela di 50 rand. And I don't ba itse that doing nothing about it.
A bona if ga gona ntwe e mapodisa ba tla etsa. Re tla etsa ntwe e ditsweng ke Thembisa le rona. Sna la rapallwa ra khona ba tsa advantage gore Kagiso because of it's a place of peace re dula re didimetse. Now re melletse ka maoto.
The word on the street. I want to give you more context as we delve deeper into this issue. So, information contained in the Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining Policy 2022 talks about illegal mining as a critical challenge. It's estimated that in the gold sector alone, billions of rands per year in revenue is lost through smuggling of this commodity. Now, communities are directly affected by illegal mining activities. How? Well, here we are talking about the health risks. We are talking about gang violence emanating from the rival illegal miners, and not to forget the environmental degradation. But it's also important to distinguish illegal mining from artisanal and small-scale mining. So, what do we know about zamazamas in South Africa? Let's walk you through it. The term zamazama means to take a chance in isiZulu. Now, the term now refers to artisanal miners that conduct illegal mining in mines that have been discontinued. The minerals that zamazamas mine are sold to local dealers and to exporters, we're told. In October 2021, about 300 illegal miners attacked and shot at police officers as well as security guards when the officers tried to prevent them from delivering food parcels to their colleagues underground. Also, let me give you a bit of a timeline on this second slide. In June 2022, about 150 illegal miners invaded Sibanye-Stillwater shaft in Randfontein in attempt to gain control. On August the 4th, as we know, 8 women were gang raped at a mine dump close to Westvillage near Krugersdorp during the filming of what we understand as a music video. More than 80 illegal miners have been arrested. 4th of August, Kagiso residents protested over illegal mining in the area. And yesterday, as well as today, you saw the police ministry led a ministerial crime combating imbizo in Westvillage as well as Kagiso. So you heard from parents there saying that they are scared to let their children walk on the streets, scared to let them go to the shops. I heard a pastor saying that she receives calls at 2 a.m. in the morning to pray with people because they simply fear that there is danger outside their homes. One resident said that the situation is no longer a time bomb, it is an explosion. Telling, where are we? This is where we are in terms of state of play in that area. Let's dig a little deeper. I want to bring in our special guest. Follow me while we talk to the Major General, Fred Kekana, South African Police Services District Commissioner of the West Rand, as well as Dr. Mike Masiapato, Commissioner, Border Management Authority, Home Affairs, as well as Tyrone Gray, the Mayor of Mogale City. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Always a pleasure having you on the program. We need your better minds to understand the problem. Digital audiences here. Just a reminder, digital audience, if you want to raise a question with our guests as well, put up your hands. If you want to add a comment, I'll come to you as soon as we can. To you, firstly, Major General, you heard the common refrain almost a chorus that people are seemingly saying that police are failing them. Do you think that police are tone deaf to the realities on the ground?
Thanks very much, Graham. Not actually. As the police, we do all the best we can within our capability. Mind you, some of the issues that are raised are not necessarily the responsibility of the police. It's other role players, including other government departments. But we are together in this.
Well, the criticism is that when somebody is raped, that becomes the responsibility of police. But the criticism also, the pushback is that why do you need that incident to happen in order for police to act? What happened to proactivity rather than reactivity?
As indicated, proactively, there is systems and programs in place. Amongst others, I'll talk of operational issues. We have strategies in place to ensure that we deal with various issues of crime, including gender-based violence. Amongst them, obviously, it's rape. We have systems in place. We have programs working with other government departments and non-governmental organizations and community structures, including community policing forums, sector forums, etc. Those are in place. We also
so those are in place, but you heard the cries of the community.
That's correct.
Those programs are not working according to the community. What more can you do?
It might seem that they are not working. It's not up to the expected level, of course, yes. And every crime incident that happened, like that heinous, horrible, cruel type of incident that happened in Krugersdorp, like any other criminal incident, we do act. We do put all efforts to ensure that we do prevention, we become proactive. Can be through educational campaigns, through operational type of approach as part of crime prevention, through our systems internally and externally, working with other role players and other community structures, right. And our own internal crime intelligence assisting through gathering of information. We do our best up to the level we can.
Yeah, yes. I will explore those other issues. Let me bring in the mayor of Mogale City. Mr. Gray, talk to us about how do we bring down the temperature in your city. I saw you diligently taking down notes, residents expressing a deep-seated hurt that they say they're being failed. They're taking matters now into their own hands. How do we bring down the temperature as well as put paid to what seems like animus between locals and foreign nationals?
Okay, good evening, Mr. Blaine. So it's very important to listen to the needs as well as be on the grassroots with the community. I found that when we went onto the site, into the area, especially of Seoul City, there was a lot more calm brought to the community. And then it's simply that the community must assist in the efforts of SAPS. For instance, we don't want vigilantism, but they can affect citizens' arrest, but however, in a very disciplined and diligent manner. Simply restrain the person. Don't strip them naked or beat them or want to necklace them and take further violence into the issue. The other issue is that...
And that's legal. I just want to clarify that is legal from a police's point of view to detain somebody. That is part of the law, right? Correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Major General?
It's in the law of the Republic. It's part of the responsibilities of each and every law-abiding citizen to can, and it's entitled to effect an arrest. And as the mayor indicated, after effecting arrest, you need to hand over the arrested people, including the exhibits found, to the right and legal authorities, and in this case is the police.
All right. Sorry, I interrupted you. I just want to get that clarification with regards to that. Pick up on your point.
All right, so then in terms of what we can do locally, we are looking to deputize other security personnel to enhance the peace officers in Mogale City, only of certain grades of guards, as well as only for certain companies that have the necessary equipment, such as body cams, so that we can do the necessary oversight. There is a certain lacuna in between restraining someone and then if you have to put them in your own van, for instance, and take them to the police station, they can counter-sue you for a kidnapping charge. So this allows the gap to be closed so that we can assist SAPS in the efforts of prosecution.
Right. I see Kustas has his hand up, Percy as well. I will get you in a short while. But Mayor, I just want to pick up something that a resident said. And they were complaining about grass not being cut. Those are basic service delivery issues that your city needs to undertake. Why is it not being done?
So when we inherited the administration of this council, municipal budget years are only implementable from the 1st of July and billable in August. The grass cutting budget was completely depleted. Mogale City was over-reliant on contracted services, so they weren't cutting the grass internally, they were relying on external service providers. We then took a decision of council to enhance our own capacity, fix our own brush cutter machines, our own tractors, our own slashers, and progressively throughout the city, more and more hectares of grass have been cut. The particular issue that you're referring to is in C Row in Westvillage. The area is topographically difficult to cut. We've had multiple controlled burns. However, today, external community members from outside of Westvillage actually came into Westvillage along with the fire department to actually do a secure method, and they will be doing a phased approach every Saturday.
You know, to just boil it down to the level of somebody sitting at home with grass that high, is there no other way that we can do this? Cut that grass if it's needed now, and then sort out the bureaucracy and the red tape later on?
So we cut all of the grass that is a particular danger. So for instance, on verges and intersections where they could cause traffic accidents, those are high priority areas. And then we use the phage approach to do the other areas. In relation to the horrendous incident that happened that was incredibly shocking to the whole nation, that area of the mine dump, whether the grass is or isn't cut, wouldn't have assisted because that area actually is sterilized from grass growing. However, we also need to address the matter of streetlights. We have systemic cable theft in our municipality. If I extrapolated, replacing 40 meters a day, it could end up being 14 kilometers as a cost to the residents of Mogale City. So we are looking at moving away from copper. Installing aluminium is not working because there's still damage to the infrastructure. One of the reasons is we have unregulated scrapyards, and then we also have substance abuse problem within Mogale City. So, and we will convert into solar technologies.
So, you know, those kind of issues with regards to the grass cutting, it's just about one example, the cable theft. These all can bleed into the issue of crime. Let me bring in Dr. Masiapato from Home Affairs. Communities, as you're going to hear just now from Percy, Gustav, David, they all complaining, saying that Home Affairs doesn't have the capabilities or the capacity to sort out the issue of illegal immigration in South Africa. Fair comment?
Yeah, no, thanks, Bailey. Yeah, indeed, the issue of capacity in terms of the Department of Home Affairs is something that is being looked at as we speak. You will be aware that nationally, when we talk about a branch within the Department of Home Affairs that is responsible internally for dealing with issues of illegal immigrants is actually called Immigration Inspectorate. So in the country, we are sitting with around 700 of those, you know, throughout the whole country. And effectively, their responsibility is to go out into, you know, areas out there, do some bit of inspections, particularly even in terms of the areas where people are being employed. And the intention there is to be able to make sure that all of the people employed in those areas are indeed people that are effectively having the relevant documentation. But of course, if you look at the country as it were, and of course the issue of illegal immigration that we are unfortunately dealing with as a country, the capacity is very much, of a problem. However, as we speak now, there are some efforts. I think you will be aware that the National Treasury, just in the current financial year, has given us some bit of additional resources through which we are now capacitating the Immigration Inspectorate. We want to make sure that in the various, regions or the various districts within the country, we have some bit of presence there. Their main responsibility, obviously, as I said, will be also going into those operations together with members of the SAPS, together with even the labor inspectors.
I want to pick up more on certain things that Minister Aaron Motsoaledi was saying about overhauling certain of the acts. Big details to get through, but let's bring in our digital audience now and take Percy. Percy, you first. If you can unmute your question, comment.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to say that the Major General is not being truthful. The number of police in the country is simply inadequate. 160 operational policemen cannot police 58 million people. That's why we're not seeing police visibility in our community. That's why we're not seeing proper policing also in the informal settlements where we know that where these illegal miners are going. Now we see it all the time, and when communities are exasperated, then the police in a populist stance will come and act as if they care. Until the police are able to have proper budgets, proper recruitment, and able to have proper police visibility, and until we have policing that is equal to the private security industry, the police should not fool us, and they should not lie to our citizens. As we've seen, our people do not take these lies anymore. That's why our people resort to vigilantism, which is illegal, yes. And we as the civil society have to teach our people to litigate and to do better in their protesting. But the police ministry has let us down significantly in this regard. Until the police can do proper policing, let them not lie to us, please. And I speak as a resident of Kagiso. Thank you, Blaine.
Major General, are you lying?
It's unfortunate. My comments and articulations might be regarded as lying. The honest truth is that, of course, due to the attrition, due to early retirement, natural attrition like retirement, some of them being dismissed due to misconduct, and obviously due to the budget constraints, which the whole country is experiencing, our own government experience. That led to the cut of the budget of the police. And immediately when, even if it's 5% budget cut, it means cut on certain resources. It can be human, it can be physical. Therefore, we do with what we have and to the best of our ability.
I see now that a statement was released that a specialized unit will be going into the areas to flush out, and I'm quoting, illegal miners.
That's correct.
Talk to us about these expertise before we go to Kustos.
All right. The decision that we have taken to supplement and saturate the area that is terrorized by these heinous criminals. Amongst other units that will be brought in is our tactical response teams, our national intervention unit, and lastly, if need be, our special task force will be incorporated. But those are some the units that will be coming in to ensure that they saturate and supplement the resources that we have, including other units within the province, like our Kekana unit. Yeah. Within them, there is explosive dogs, there is tracker dogs to assist in the investigation, especially tracking those people when they run away in the bushes and in those areas which normally we might not easily access. Right. We also have our air wing, our choppers, that will also be used to monitor on the air and the areas where we cannot meet and see, using also the drones to ensure that people, the forces on the ground, the people with the boots on the ground are directed where those people are hiding or ran into.
Let's see if a resident is convinced. Percy, are you convinced?
No, not at all. The Major General is evading the question. When are you going to hire? You've got 90 billion rand that you're getting, and you're talking about limited budgets. You have had a systemic resignation and a loss of policemen since 2010. It's out there. Institute of Security Studies has said it. Everybody said it. Please do not come with excuses. You do not have enough recruiting. 160 personnel cannot look after 58 million people. Let's just tell the truth about that. That's not satisfactory at all.
Kustas, over to you. If you can unmute.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. The Honorable General, I've got a question for him. He speaks as if he's in control of the situation. He doesn't have resources. Why is he coming here and not say it's clear that he doesn't have? The reason we know that is because we know there are not enough police officers. They will run that operation for about a month and they will move on. So the Honorable General, why is it that in his ministry don't put enough resources? You see, from what he's saying today, in a month's time, that helicopter he's mentioning would be gone. From 6 months' time, Zamazamas would be back there.
Well,
I think we have to be honest enough and say we don't have enough resources.
We're looking for durable
my question to him is that. My question then to him is that after a month, does he plan to move on from that situation? Is this a facade, what they're doing in Krugersdorp right now? Or is it a permanent solution? That's the question.
Kusas, thank you. David from Cape Town? If you can unmute, David. David, if you can unmute, we'll come back to you. Let's take Christopher.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Go ahead, David. Christopher.
Okay, so I'll be fast. I'm so excited to talk. So the problem is that it starts the border. That is where the problem is. We are letting people into this country illegally, not just to the Zamazama situation, but many other things, raping our children, raping our women, doing a lot of things. We're not saying South Africans doesn't do that also, but illegal people coming in. So I have a problem with we are trying to sort out the border. I don't think they are trying hard enough. That's the first problem we've got. We need to then arrest these people, throw them in jail. If we cannot jail them, let's send them back to their country, make sure they get jailed in their country, and if that country does not want to jail them, we'll get sanctions against them. We'll make a point of it, because it's not a South African problem, it's an African problem. We need to take hands and sort the problems out. We don't have police. The fact that the police says, oh, but we don't have enough people, that is not our problem. As South African citizens, we are paying tax. Make sure we get the problem solved.
All right. David, thank you very much for your comments. Christopher, to you, then Itumeleng and Tando. Go ahead, Christopher.
Good evening to everybody out there. I've been in the security industry now for 28 years now. And what I discovered is, SABC, you cannot solve the problem. But you can come up with a modern technology system to help you. There is no excuse. Number one, you're sitting now in a building there in the studio. You don't know what is happening outside right now. I cannot expect you to know what's happening outside now. You're supposed to start putting up high masks, PTZ cameras, and start monitoring the area. The four of you sitting now in the studio now can at least monitor a few kilometers of areas right now where you are sitting. SABC, you need to put up high masks, PTZ cameras. If you don't have a budget to get people to monitor the areas, get volunteers there. Recruit reservists. If there's not a budget, we must stop the excuses now. Our people will suffer. And I want our Minister of Police, Becky Kelly, I want our president to really, we want to release them in Mitchell's Plain. We want to release them in Kagiso without any bodyguards, so they can really see what our people are going through. There's too much excuses, and I think management is the problem in the police force there. Put up cameras, PTZ cameras, it will cover, we can zoom in about 5 to 100 meters to 1 kilometer. Stop the excuses, please. There's a party called Spectrum, there's a party. They are so modern. They got a plan for everything. We need to get and bring the people who are living in the areas to help us with a solution. If you don't have the expertise, get the expertise. They are there. But we are too shy and too proud to bring in the experts to help you. Right. Go and speak to Spectrum Missile Party. They have the solution for South Africa. Every burning issues that we are facing in this country, they have the solution.
All right,
please come on, let us work with us and we can help you.
All right, Christopher, thank you very much indeed, Christopher from Cape Town. Itumeleng?
Okay, I would say that as early as 99, this has been an issue. And to my question now, 23 years later, nothing has been put in place to protect the community. My question is South Africa a lawlessness country or what? Because it's been 23 years later and now things have been escalated. And the excuse is being like we are in short of police officers. I think that's upset.
All right, Tumelang, thank you very much indeed. Ntando, Minenhle, Sello, Professor Steyn, we see you, Tobelo, as well. We're going to come back to you in a short while. We have to take a quick break. We're talking about concrete, durable, sustainable solutions to the issue of illegal mining and the crime that is associated with that. Quick break, more next. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. It's a program that puts you, our viewers, at the center of the discussions. Please have your say regarding the burning issue of the week. Interact with us on all our social media platforms. We will also be taking your calls on 011-714-5958. We're asking you, what is the solutions here following that gang rape in Krugersdorp? What more can be done in order to protect communities in nearby mine dumps here in South Africa? We've got a number of guests as well to answer your questions. Let's go straight to our central audience, our digital audience, and pick it up with regards to your questions. And Tando, to you first.
Good evening. So I totally support what Itumeleng was saying. This has been a problem for a very long time. Something should have happened by now. I mean, during the weeks, there were reports of the communities calling for the involvement of the National Defense Force, because as we might have seen during COVID, we actually had their deployment and they were actually being able to support with tasks as simple as being able to tell citizens to put on their mask in instances. So with an issue just as serious, why aren't we getting the involvement of such a powerful sort of help?
All right. And Tando, thank you very much indeed. I'm just looking at a statement that was sent earlier on, and it did touch on the issue of the deployment of the army, and it went on to say, and this is actually according to the police minister, Becky Cele, he says, the request to bring in the army will be considered when the need arises. This process takes a long time. However, in the meantime, the police's response to flush out these zamazamas will continue to bolster efforts as well. That was the statement released earlier. Minenhle.
Good evening, Blaine. Well, I basically echo the comments made by my colleagues here. And the way I see this unfold is that there are two ways this could really go about happening. The first is that these zamazamas, they stay away and or alternatively, they come back more violent. In both cases, what is the police going to do in such instances? How are they going to protect the communities if these zamazamas really are aggravated by what the police are doing and come back more violent? Or should they decide to stay away, what laws will be put in place to ensure that this does not happen again in future?
Professor Jean Steyn, you are Professor of Criminal Justice at the University of Zululand. Talk to us about your assessment with regards to where does the buck stop, or where does the responsibility lie in terms of protecting communities, especially when dealing with illegal mining, because the lines become a bit blur in terms of, well, from a public's point of view, as to who actually protects the citizen in this regard. Talk to us about your information that you get with regards to the trends that you picked up.
Good evening, Blaine. Good evening to the panel members and to the audience. Essentially, what is important to consider here is that if the media is in any which way correct, 6,000 mines that are being impacted with illegal prospecting across the country, and 8 women being violently raped and men losing their lives as a critical incident, now suddenly we decide to meet together at a funeral. We should be acting in a preventative way. My concern is this, that the police acting reactively should have done so proactively. In the sense that if you look at the National Environmental Management Act, it states that the permit holder is required to submit a rehabilitation, decommissioning and closure plan 15 months within the permit being issued. Now, that permit is reviewed by an independent panel, audited and approved by the minister. Now, my question is, the police, do they sit on that review panel when that plan is approved? Was the police aware of that plan? And we're talking about 6,000 mines now.
Yeah.
And individuals or people, sub-Saharan Africa, economically and socially deprived, coming into South Africa to perform functions or roles just to feed themselves, responding through overseers aggressively under control to rape women. That is being fearful and acting aggressively just to feed themselves. I'm not legitimizing what has happened, certainly not, but 8 wonderful sisters, mothers, and so forth were brutally raped. There's a serious issue here in the crime prevention and the deterrent stance of the police. Surely we had informants in taverns that spoke to sex workers to find out exactly what is going on in these mines.
Right.
The deposits, for example, for rehabilitation of these mines, how does it relate to policing of these mines? And how is it possible, with relative terms, that our police with specialization now, with a number of reported crime incidents with a specialized unit, is going to address this? We need to look at self-policing as a strategy as a people, first of all. And secondly, we've got to look at these mines that are too deep, necessarily too expensive to obtain certain equipment for South Africans to prospect.
So important points with regards to the role of the community, as well as where does the responsibility lie in terms of that. I also want to bring in Itumeleng a little later on to talk. She's a geology in the field of geology in terms of how do we shut those mines down. Obviously there's environmental issues there as well. Tabelo, I'm going to come back to you just now, Percy as well, and Tando and Nochuselo as well. I just want to remind the viewers, the community of Westvillage in West Rand of Johannesburg, they've been protesting with regards to what's been happening there. I want to remind you about what's at stake here. This report by our producer, Hlela Mkoko.
Welcome to Westvillage in the West Rand of Johannesburg. This is the area where 8 women were gang raped. The community in this area say this was not a shock for them, as crime is part of their daily bread.
Icrime lapha iphezulu kakhulu kangangokubana asiyazi ukuthi sizoncedakala kanjani. Silanto yenzeke kulantaba imhlophe yilena ivuselele izazela zabantu. Uyayibona odada ucele ke ngoku zabaphakame bazobona ukuthi iWest Rand injani imbi nyekenyeke because ibhodi zabantu ziphana amakhadi wabantu akhona phana i-ID zethu ma-South African zigcwele khona pha. Awukhona udlula eKrugersdorp, awukhona udlula ubamba iteksi uye lapha ya kwi-junction, funeka udlula apha emarobotini apho ubonwa khona ngabantu. Otherwise xa ujikela nge-PPR baya-atheka usajikela phana.
This rape victim says she has become an alcoholic because of her experiences in this area.
Horror is an issue on a daily basis. There is not any day that one doesn't get raped within a week where I stay.
Have you gone through something like that?
I have, several times. Several times.
Meaning you've been raped several times?
5 times. I mean, have you ever been raped by 9 people at the same time? I mean, how horrible does horror get? I'm seeing and shrink. It doesn't help because I want to be drunk every day because I feel traumatized. They get arrested and you see the same people the following day and they threaten your life. That's the reality of Westvillage.
The community has highlighted that police do not help, even when the cases are opened.
Masihamba nasizwa. Omunye wabo labo okuba head labo. Uke wasitshena ukuthi iphoyisela ubani. Lidayisa inhlavu. So ngeke sikwazi ukuthi sibize amagama abantu ukuthi in. Mara kodwa mina nginabo abantu engibaziyo ukuthi badayisa inhlavu babe besebenzela government.
Community leadership says they have tried to highlight their plight to the authorities, but to no avail.
We spoke to the brigadier, we spoke to the mayor, and I think they never took these issues very serious about these zamazamas. Many men were raped here. Many women were raped here. But I'm happy because I can see many women stood up and say we are raped.
The police are pleading with the communities to be patient as they are working hard to resolve the matters, and they have also asked for community intel.
We are going to systematically deal with this illegal mining. We will definitely come to their areas of concern. So for now, they can just collect as much intel as they can do, like the community of Kagiso here. And so that when we come to their areas, we'll be led by the leaders in those communities who can go and deal with those challenges.
On Thursday, community members took to the streets of Kagiso to protest against illegal mining and the social ills in this area. Schools have been temporarily closed until further notice, and Police Minister Bekicele has asked for calm.
For his Topical, I'm Hlela Mkoko in Johannesburg.
All right, Hlela, thank you very much indeed for that report. Let's take it back to the digital audience. And I want to bring in Tebelo Chabana from the Mineral Council South Africa. And with regards to, sir, the licensing, the monitoring, as well as investigating these mining permit holders, whose responsibility is it?
Good evening. I just want to bring a little bit of context. Well, firstly, I think we need to say that what happened to the 8 women, them being gang raped, was really absolutely sad. And the police, it's good that the police have made the arrest. Let's hope that they will actually even continue to make the prosecutions, because that's the key issue. Now, the context I want to bring in that actually deals with those kind of issues is that the challenge that we have here is that the 6,100 odd ownerless and derelict mines that are often spoken of are mines. Some of these mines were mined hundreds of years ago. Okay, so the DMRE is in the process of rehabilitating them, but yes, are they doing so quickly enough? Clearly not nearly as quickly enough. It is those underground, a lot of these ownerless and derelict mines that are the source of a lot of the illegal mining that is taking place.
Right.
Now, currently, in terms of South African law, you've got the Minerals and Petroleum Development and Resources Act that brought in place a lot more stricter rules relating to licensing, environmental provisions, and people have to make financial provisions for closure. So you're not dealing with current mines that are actually being operated on, even though illegal miners do sometimes infiltrate current operating mines, but current miners do deal with these issues a lot better.
Yeah.
So we're talking about mostly ownerless and derelict mines here, and that is really the cause of the problem.
So, but now, are you saying that police is not involved in these permit holders or licensing or monitoring at all?
Well, in terms of the monitoring of current mines, it's more your regulators, the DMRE that does that. But clearly the police are involved in trying to resolve the illegal mining issue. But an element I want to bring into this conversation, maybe that hasn't been touched on, is the criminal syndicate component of what is happening here. The challenge with, you understand, artisanal mining, illegal mining takes place in a lot of countries on the continent.
Yes.
But in South Africa, it is quite unique in that it is actually very violent. It is supported by powerful, violent criminal syndicates. Yeah. So you've got a structure of the miners, individual zamazamas on the ground that go underground. And yes, a lot of them are foreign nationals. A lot of them are Lesotho nationals. Some of them have worked in the mines. They understand the mining, how to mine, and they understand the underground environment. And then you've got the gangs then that protect them, but they are heavily armed with assault rifles. They get them the food, the means and resources to be able to mine. And then you've got above that those that actually then the bulk buyers, still in a South African context, and some of them have legitimate permits, in terms of the Precious Metals Act.
Are these local buyers or international buyers?
This is still at a local level, and then they send those to international buyers and the exporters. The international ones tend to be outside the jurisdiction of the South African police. But we are, and you know, the higher you go up the rank, you know, the more organized the criminal activity is. So it is not as simple as dealing with the zamazamas on the ground. You know, there are efforts to try to legitimize open-scale artisanal mining because, yes, people need to earn a living, but that's very different to the underground mining that is taking place with the zamazamas.
Mr. Javan, thank you very much indeed for that insight. Let's bring in Major General with regards to addressing some of the issues that you picked up, especially police having more of an oversight role so that they can pick up these trends in terms of an intelligence point of view. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Hyman. Number one, of course, the challenges, let me start with challenges which we are experiencing and the community experience that lead to this type of incidents where we have zamazamas. Number one, there is a lot of unused mines that are not rehabilitated. And unfortunately, when those things, those companies left, a department responsible is supposed to ensure that before they leave, those places are rehabilitated. And at the end, if that is not done, or a company is liquidated, then the police end up being in a situation where we find ourselves in this type of intervention where we have to now monitor those unrehabilitated mines because people invade them as zamazamas, illegal miners. And unfortunately, some of those mines are in areas that are inaccessible. It's a terrain that is not familiar with us as police. They operate in environment which they know we are not aware of. We have to do first an analysis of the situation, the threats, some of the things we are not trained as police to do mining, even to go underground. When these people run underground, we then have to engage those that are expert. Amongst others, from time to time during operations, we engage mining experts and mining security to assist us to go underground because police members are not trained to do anything underground.
Hence the need for the specialized unit which incorporates all that, isn't it?
That's correct. And it must be integrated.
And it must be sustainable. That's what the digital audience is saying.
That's correct.
Well.
Yes.
What happens after 6 months? What happens when the helicopters go away? Where does that leave the community?
Currently, we need to ensure that we neutralize and stabilize and saturate the area. Flush all the criminals, clean them, and by not chasing them somewhere else, we have to remove them from their operations. We have to remove them from the communities. And most of them, if not all, are undocumented people. And some of the things that will assist is that after we arrest them, they must be deported and out of the country. And the system and the processes of ensuring that these people that we arrest are deported it's a big challenge for us because they stay weeks, days, and even months in the police cells, or some of them in correctional service centers, some of them at Lindela. And that on its own, I think the other department now, which is Home Affairs, need to take also assist in the process of speeding up that process to assist
find out with Dr. Mike with regards to what's being done in order to address that issue. Porous borders. What is being done there at a starting point, the border gates, to put paid to this situation?
Yeah, so in terms of what has actually been done, I think you will be aware of the lot of effort that we are actually putting on the table in dealing with the issues of porous borders led by Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. Firstly, you will be aware that the Border Management Authority is now in the process of being established. It will be fully functional on the 1st of April. What are we doing now? You will be aware that on the 14th of July, we have launched the first cohort of the border guards that have actually been deployed in the 6 vulnerable segments of our borderline. And those are the segments where most of the illegal migrants actually use, to be able to come through into the country. So up to this point, all of those 6 critical segments, we have the contingent of the border guards being deployed in those areas. For example, now as we speak, arising from the various operations that have taken place, around 374 individuals are actually to be deported back to their respective countries. And now with the border guards being deployed in those vulnerable segments of the borderline, they're going to then be making sure that those people don't walk back into the country as it used to be. So that is I would say, the start of the solution into some of these problems, especially problems that actually involve illegal people that are in the country.
What about the certain conventions that South Africa is currently in? The 1951 Refugee Convention and I think it was the 1967 Protocol that's tied up with that. Basically talks to a state's obligation to protect refugees who come here in South Africa. I understand, if my memory serves me correct, that Dr. Motsoaledi said that South Africa entered there in 1996. Should we now leave that convention and re-enter with certain reservations, specifically talking to whether South Africa can afford it, the economy can afford it, to take in refugees? What's the stance of government?
Yeah, so indeed, I mean, if you look at the manner in which we have entered into those conventions and protocols, post 1994, we have entered into those protocols without any reservation, as most of the other jurisdictions have actually done. And that is why now when we look back, we are able to realize that that particular activity was a bit problematic. And that is why now there is a reconsideration of all of those issues with the view that we are intending to review all our entire immigration policy, primarily because we didn't actually give an indication as to our national interest and the issues around your national security imperatives. And that is why we have a lot of people that are actual economic migrants who basically come to the jurisdiction with the view that they are actual refugees. And that is why our system then gets bloated. So as we speak now, you will be aware that that policy imperative is being discussed by the ruling NGO as we speak. And the intention for that is to review the entire migration policy with the view of addressing some of those issues.
All right. Mayor, let me just bring you into the conversation. You heard what Home Affairs had to say. You heard what police had to say. It all boils down to people coming and knocking on your door saying, what are you going to do to help protect me in my community? Where does the durable solution lie here with regards to, firstly, tackling those crime bosses, those syndicates that sit on the top there, as Mr. Chabane was saying? What's the municipality, what's the city's point of view with regards to this?
So Mr. Chabane is right. Going after zamazamas is simply going after the tail of the snake. We need to go after the head of the snake and take over those people that are benefiting from the illicit mining trade in totality. It is slightly more complicated than simply just taking the gold to an international market. It requires you to dilute that gold with other gold, because gold all have signatures. So for instance, the second-hand good market is also involved in the illicit trade because they smelt it down so that it can be made into bullion and taken out. However, from Mogale City side, the STORM Committee, which is Strategic Tactical Operations Response Management, has been crafted. This facilitates additional resources from the private sector as well as for the community with SAPS so that we have high disciplined operations. I'm also requesting MEC Faith Mazibuko. She acceded to my request. She mentioned my PPE for patrollers, both radio networks and reflective vests and whistles, etc., for the community. If she can just accelerate the procurement from Gauteng legislature so that it can be rolled out. And then furthermore, we're actually talking about an economic crisis here. We need to stimulate our economy. One of the amendments for the policy that the Democratic Alliance has been championing is we should amend Section 32. This is the big unions and big companies are extending their collective bargaining agreements to non-parties, and this makes small micro enterprises sluggish to the economy. There's often obligations imposed on them that they're unable to do. And then Mr. Ngwenya mentioned a Section 201 application. That's when the president, either for protection of the public in cooperation with the police or to fulfill an international obligation, deploys defense forces for a certain complement, for a certain period, for a certain area. This was something actually championed by myself 4 months ago. So we proactively engaged in the solution base, and we are glad that this has catalyzed in a mobilization of state resources.
All right, we're fast running out of time, but let's see if we can get a few more comments from our digital audience. Hello, let's take you. You've been holding on there for a bit.
Thank you, Blaine. Thank you very much, and good evening to your esteemed panel as well as digital audience. Professor Stein has highlighted the magnitude of the problem. Added to that, we know that the issue of zamazamas has been going on for a very, very long time. So we need to look at it at three prongs, short-term, medium, and long-term. Most people this evening have spoken about the short-term, the issues of policing, the issues of community involvement, citizens' arrest, and so forth. In the medium term, it's important to look at the demand, the buyers, as someone has indicated, because like in illicit drug trafficking, for an example, it's very, very difficult or impossible to stop that if you do not look at the demand and you focus only on the supply. So people will always, if there's a demand, people will always find a supply issue elsewhere, and that leads to a long-term solution whereby some people have spoken earlier on when this issue started about regulating the market. If it's that big and it's been going on for so long, and we are able to identify the demands and so forth, then why can't we perhaps regulate the industry so that it's in the mainstream? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, digital audience. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will no doubt continue this conversation. My guests here today, thank you very much indeed. Value added, no doubt. Let me give you my take before we leave. People, you can hear, they're sick and tired of talking. People are sick and tired of protesting. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need the intelligence authorities to step up. We need police to show up. We need proactive behavior rather than reactive behavior. Active being the key word here. Fighting crime, it is a shared responsibility. Communities also need to play their part because, as someone once told me, when a nation puts safety first, they last. The news continues. Stand by for the Globe. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.